kinematic alignment is actually a resurfacing of the patient knee. Suhas has already talked about it. The target is to set the component co-aligned with the pre-arthritic joint line of the patient. And this is this red line, the distal femoral condyle line and the posterior condyle line of the patient. Once you do that, you will have set the component co-aligned with the three axes of the knee, the so-called kinematic axis of the knee. These axes are this magenta line, which is the line about which the tibia moves on the femur, this green line, the line about which the patella moves within the trochlea, and this yellow line is the line about which the tibia rotates on the femur, the so-called screw home motion. So it's actually a truly measured resection technique. What you're trying to do a distal and a posterior femoral cut so that it is replaced by the thickness of the implant itself. And you're trying to do a tibia cut, taking the varus valgus in the coronal plane and the sagittal plane, the slope of the tibia, so that you would have achieved what the knee looks like before the arthritis set in. So you're replacing the implant bone with the implant thickness. Now, is it for everyone? The question is it for every patient? To me, the question was a little different. Is it for every surgeon? Why? Because this has come in. The foray for India in terms of kinematic or alternative alignments is because it's not very old, it's only 2 to 3 years old, and it is largely because surgeons have been exposed to robots. And most of us, including me, dealt with these alternate philosophies because robots came in and we were able to fiddle with our robot, the alignments, the degrees and stuff like that. But the original technique was still with the conventional set. Now, most youngsters, less than 5% surgeons in India have access to a robot, and even lesser surgeons are convinced about the kinematic philosophy. So you're trying to say that 1% of all the surgeons in this country do kinematic versus rest of the people who still do mechanics. So the question was, can we adopt the technique of kinematic alignment using a conventional instrumentation set? And can we be accurate about it? And can we design methods to change our plan intraoperatively when we do not have access to a technology? This is me moving away from robotics. So we did about 1500 robotic kinematic alignments and went back and to see, can we still do it with a conventional available set? So this is how we do it. A regular varus knee we get, but we do plan our knees. We do get our angles done in MPT and LDFA. I disagree with Suhas. A lot of these angles conventionally measured are not accurate because there is bone loss and you're still drawing on a worn out surfaces, so an MPTA and LDFA may be different. But this is how we do it, a conventional arthrotomy, but we do a very little release on the medial side. But we expose the joint and then we assess the status of the joint. Invariably in a varus knee, you would have a normal looking cartilage on the lateral aspect and a worn out part on the medial aspect. As the first step, you'll take your saw and you will remove the cartilage from the uninvolved condyle, which by convention we believe is to be a 2 millimeter. Once you have removed it, you have now set your distal femoral condyles at the same level because they are both missing the cartilage at this point. Once you have done that, you would do a femoral entry with the regular drill, but the target here is not to align your distal cutting block surmount with the center of the head of the femur. It is irrelevant to kinematic philosophy where your femoral head lies. You just want to enter the canal because now you want to put your zig onto the distal femur. Once you enter, you use a small rod, you enter and you let your distal zig sit on the distal condyles equally, something like this, and you are totally forget what is the valgus measurement on that zig is. So it can vary from 9-degree valgus to 0-degree and sometime minus. It is irrelevant because you just want to reproduce the distal axis of that patient. Once you've done that, you will pin your distal cutting block to the femur. Now at this point, if you were to take a cut, this would have removed by convention 9 millimeter of bone equally from the two condyles. But since you have already removed the cartilage from the bone, you will shift that block into a -2 position and then take your cut. And once you've taken the cut, the first step and the most important step that you do, you want to measure it, because that's a caliper based technique. Now these two cuts should be 6 mm. Why? Because 2 mm of cartilage has already been lost. So 9 minus 2 is 7, and 1 mm of bone you lose because of the saw blade. So it has to be 6. So if both cuts are 6 mm, you are on the right track. In the next step, you take a posteriorly referencing zig, and you set that zig at 0 degree of rotation. So you take a posterior referencing zig, put it against the posterior femoral condyles, 0 degree of rotation, pin it, and use a 4-in-1 cutting block to take your cuts. The idea here is to remove equal bones from the two posterior condyles, meaning that they are not wound. So you have to modify if your condyle are wound, but for a non-wound part, medial and lateral, you would do an equal cut on the two posterior condyles. Once you've taken that cut, you will again measure your posterior cuts, and here they should be 8 mm, because it's a 9 mm cut, 1 mm you have lost from the saw blade, it has to be cut. If you are not reaching accurate, there are steps that you can do to make it accurate, but they have to be 8 mm equal cuts. Once you've done that and you feel that this is not accurate, you can still do a shift of about 1 mm using a special shifting block. The tolerance in kinematic alignment is 1 mm. If you are off by half mm, it is okay, because that you can still fill it with cement. If you are off by a millimeter or 2, you need to adjust, because you have to be accurate down to 1 mm. In the next step, you use a straight osteotome against the 4-in-1 block, the posterior part, and you draw a line on the proximal tibia. This will give you an approximation of the slope, the coronal slope on the tibia. Mind you, it's still an approximation, but that gives an idea whether your proximal tibia is at 90 degree or is it medially sloping. In the next step, you will assemble your tibia zig, but it has 3 components to it. What you want to do is, you want to take, in this system, the minimum poly is 10 mm. So in this system, you want to take 10 mm cut from the normal proximal tibia condyle, and you want to take 8 mm from the medial tibia condyle, meaning that you have just cartilage loss on the medial side. To do this, you need to varus shift your tibia zig, which means that rod shifts towards the lateral malleolus. That creates a varus position on the tibia proximal block. And you do that so that your stylus can rest 10 mm on the lateral part, which is the normal part, and 8 mm on the medial part, which is the wound part. This 8 mm can again shift if the bone is lost to 6 mm, 4 mm, depending upon the severity of the deformity. On the lateral plane, you want to reproduce the sagittal slope of that particular patient. This slope is widely variant, and in Indian population, it is actually much higher. So sometimes it is just not 2 finger breadths, it can be 3 finger breadths away from the tibial shin. And at this point, you will pin and you will take the cut. This should take out an equally symmetrical biscuit from the proximal tibia condyle, plus whatever is wound on the medial side. And obviously, you will preserve your PCL. Once you've taken that cut out, you will measure, and this caliper again has to be very accurate. On the non-involved side, it has to be 9 mm, 1 mm from the saw bone loss. And this would have done a caliper based, unrestricted kinematic totally for you. You can try and do ahead and finish the case very easily. So the case we started with, this would something look like this. In an extreme case like this, which has extreme varus, 30 degree of varus, 30 degree of deformity, you still do not need to do any soft tissue releases. If you do a unrestricted kinematic alignment, you would have still balanced these knees with this kind of X-ray. A lot of people will be shocked. This is about 5 degree of varus on the tibia, but no soft tissue releases were required. So in conclusion, mechanical alignment is a non-anatomical philosophy. That's why some people believe this has about 20% of the patients which are not satisfied. kinematic alignment will actually preserve the patient joint line, soft tissue envelope and kinematics. A caliper based technique has shown better patient related outcomes in the immediate post-op and no increase in implant failure because of the varus or the alignment changes. Bone cuts with conventional instrumentations are 95% accurate, and in 5% where you need to redo it, you can easily redo those cut by 1 mm because of special instrumentation. What special instrumentation I needed to do? I had to juggle and collect it from different sets. So this is from a older set which is a varus recutting zig available. So you can do a varus cut on the tibia if it needs to be. This is a shim that I got made. This is a 1 or 2 mm shim. If you have cut extra on the femur, you can use this shims to fill the bone cuts, or you can use this shifting blocks for the posterior condyle in cases. Mind you, you need to do this in less than 5% of the cases. But then the first question was, is the kinematic philosophy for every patient? So for example, this patient is not my X-ray, but this guy had multiple osteotomies when he was very young in his childhood, but then he grew up with walking knees for next 30 years before he developed arthritis. This X-ray, now you want to do it totally on this patient. Now a lot of people will debate he needs an extra articular deformity correction before he gets a totally replacement done. An unrestricted kinematic philosophy, he gets something like this. So he gets a total knee in the position of the knee where he was, no soft tissue releases were done. But this is an extreme case. What we daily encounter is this X-ray. This is a constitutional varus X-ray, very common, rachitic lady, grew up with an extreme varus. The knees are not that bad, but she has about 25 degree of varus. If you want to do a conventional kinematic alignment philosophy in this, you would be ending up with something like 6 or 7 degree of tibia vara. And we don't know what will happen to these patients, because right now we have data that these implants put in varus of the tibia will survive till 5 degree of varus or something like this. This is a valgus knee, but you know what has happened? The fracture has actually taken away the bow on the femur. So there is a bowed femur on the right side, but the fixation on the left side had actually taken away the bow, which has caused this alignment to be even more valgus. So do you want to reproduce this philosophy? That's why restricted principle came in, where you want to restrict the alignment of the implant to within these limits, plus minus 3 degree of arithmetic HKA and joint line obliquity of 5 degree.
Vikram, I think we'll stop here.
Yeah, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.